We're all searching for it, or people. The ones you can call when you're at the end of your rope. The ones you ask for advice in a difficult stage or deciding on which jeans to buy. The ones who you share dreams and hopes with, who get you to the gym and love your kids like their own. Motherhood was never meant to be a solitary role, and now it doesn't need to be. Here we discuss everything from our favorite kidisms to mental wellness to our best mom hacks and more. Mamas are world changers, and it's time to stop bearing that responsibility alone. So whether you're driving carpool, rocking a sleeping baby, or doing dishes, we're here for you. Welcome to the Village. Welcome to episode 16 of the Village podcast. I'm your host, Missy Allred. Today's episode is kind of inspired by a conversation I had with my 19-year-old sister the other day. And she was asking about a study abroad I did several years ago when I was 19. And I have just been thinking about this 19-year-old version of Missy nonstop because I feel like I am a completely, I don't even feel that way. I am a completely different person than I was then. And 19-year-old study abroad Missy was so in her head about what other people thought about her. I had kind of a miserable experience. Like I don't regret my decision to go at all. I don't regret the experiences I had. But if I had done things differently, I would have had a very, very different experience. I was so concerned about what other people thought of me. And so I felt lonely and on the outskirts of people the whole time I was there. And it was a long time to basically be all by myself. And I remember my whole family came and picked me up and we stayed and traveled around Europe for a couple weeks after that. And I remember my parents getting there and just being so relieved to be with my mom and dad again. And I just feel so sad for her. And at the same time, I am so grateful that she was able to turn that experience into such a growing experience. One of the things that happened was the second to last day, I ended up in a conversation with another girl where basically she was like, I've been so lonely too. I felt left out of things, just on the outskirts. And I was like, oh my goodness, I have been so in my head that I didn't even realize that somebody else was feeling the exact same way as me. And I come back to that experience often, so often. I think that's partly where my whole purpose to try and create villages kind of comes from, and to just be the one to invite because I'm not the only one feeling this way. I think so much of it stems from this experience and seeing that I was not the only one and I missed months of friendship and I missed out on relationships that I would have loved to develop and to still have if I had done things differently. So again, I don't regret my experience and I'm just grateful that I was able to take that experience and change it. And so really what I wanted to talk about today was looking backward, forward, seeing how far you've come, seeing where the growth is and that you are not the same as your 19-year-old self. I think sometimes we feel like we're moving backwards. The whole idea of keep moving forward and growth is this forward momentum. And I want to argue that growth is vertical, not horizontal. Let me explain a little bit. Sometimes we feel like we're coming up against the same problem over and over and over again. And if we're quote unquote moving forward, it feels like we're spinning in circles where I've seen this problem before and oh, look, I just circled back around to it. Here I am again. And I want to argue that you are maybe facing the same big picture problem, but you're doing it at a level deeper. Growth is vertical, not horizontal. You're going deeper each time. Yes, it's the same issue, but it's at a deeper level. It's at a new level version. And I think that is such a great, this mindset has helped me so much to not feel like I am failing when I keep running into the same problem, when I keep struggling with my confidence. Because I feel like I've been through another bout of this, and sometimes I feel like I'm back to my 19-year-old self, or my 15-year-old self, or my 11-year-old self. I'm like, why have I not solved this problem yet? And I don't think that's it. I think that I have, but they were more surface level, and now we're getting to deeper things. It's not just about the way I look anymore. I mean, I think there's always levels of that. I mean, we talked last week about having babies and the back and forth of your body changing constantly, and so it's hard not to feel that. But I feel like more of my confidence issues are so much deeper now, where they are about who I am as a person and challenging those beliefs. And yes, it's confidence, but we're getting to these deeper levels, which feel really hard. And I think that's part of this misconstrued picture of thinking that you're failing because, oh, this is so difficult. But like, of course it is, because it's this deeper version of you. Whatever it is that you're feeling like you're coming back around to all the time, it's a deeper level. And so it takes that extra little bit of work. And with all of this, I also want you to think about, again, how far you have come, and that the challenges that you're facing today, you a year ago, 7 years ago, 20 years ago, wouldn't have been able to handle. And just seeing how strong you have become, and how as you go throughout life, your ability and your capacity expands because of this deeper level growth as you go into deeper level problems. Think about the challenges that your kids are facing. And likely you are facing similar things, but you look at them and you're like, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. Like, you've got this. It's all fine. Because we can look at that because we've been through that. And we know that it's going to work out, that they're going to figure it out. And it feels like such a small problem, but at their age, it felt like the biggest deal to us. When they don't get their way and they feel disappointment, it seems like no big deal because you're like, it's just a toy. It's fine. Or we're going to the park tomorrow. You're fine. But we have these disappointments that are deeper level, but we're really facing the same thing, but our capacity expands, and it's a deeper level of whatever we're going through. You couldn't have done what you're doing now then. That capacity and ability shifts. It's mental, it's physical, it's emotional, it's social, and there's ebb and flow in different seasons. And so when you feel like, oh, I was so much stronger then, there's this constant flow of like just back and forth as different seasons happen, as different challenges come up. I just want you to take a minute and see how far you've come, how much growth has happened, how much deeper you're going, and see that capacity and ability, see the wins. We are going real short and sweet today, but I just can't get this idea out of my mind. And so there's someone out there who was like, man, I needed this because I've been bumping up this again and again, and I'm starting to see it differently because I know I needed the reminder. So, thank you for listening. I hope that was helpful. I would love it if you would share with a friend, and I'll talk to you next week. Thanks for joining me on this week's episode. I would love to hear your thoughts on it, so message me on Instagram at @themissy_allred. There is always room in our village, so if you enjoyed it, will you please send it to a friend or leave a rating and review? Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next episode. Thank you for being here. I'll talk to you next week.